yeah. I wish I'd been there, but there you go.
Supposed to be there.
Huh? Yeah,
There's an age limit.
What? There's an age limit. Yeah, exactly. I'm far too young. Yeah, I was supposed to be, but they changed my schedule in the last week, so that's the way it works. Anyway, so I'm going to continue on with the course that we have here. So what we've done, we've done all this basic setup, conceptual massing, and we talked a bit about architectural elements and materials, just in a very basic way. So to continue the basic Revit course, I'm just going to continue, and today we're just going to talk about walls by themselves and all the settings. Well, not all the settings, but at least the basic settings that you can change on walls to get something that you think is going to be nice. So for the purposes of this course, I'm going to continue with this house we set up in the at the beginning. So we're going to the ground floor plan here, and you can see that the initial sketch is still here behind. So I'm just going to keep working on that, and you can either use your own version of it, or if you've lost it, which you probably have, I've uploaded it here. So under my subject, GIT. Number 5, practice house. So I've put the exact file that I'm working on right now in there, so you can quickly download that and play with it if you want.
Where is it?
It's in my folder here, GIT, and then there's six folders, and it's number 5, practice house. Okay. So I'm going to do a little bit to do with the practice house, and then we'll just do a little bit on the side as well. Okay, so to start off with this practice house that we set up, will I give you all a minute if you want to follow along to download, or yeah, okay, let's do that. Give you a minute. Again. Okay, so walls. It's the very first button on the left here under the architecture tab. So we've got architectural, structural, wall by face, sweeps, reveals. We don't deal with structural walls at all in the first semester. We don't need to worry about actual engineering. We just need to worry about drawing representations. So all we're dealing with in the first semester is wall architectural. We talked a little bit about wall by face when we were doing the massing models, where you just select, this kind of funky shape that you've made and turn it into a wall. And then today I'm going to talk about sweeps and reveals as well. But mostly I'm just going to talk about the settings of the wall. So if we have a concept drawing like this where we've just used a basic wall, it's got no layers in it, I can select the wall here, and you can see that it's called basic wall generic 400 millimeters. That means there's no materials assigned to it. I can also see that on the wall here, when I select it, these little arrows here are facing inside into the house. That's wrong. These should always be facing outside. And you can very quickly flip the orientation of the wall just by clicking on these little arrows. But rather than doing it on one of them, I'm going to do it on all of them at once by leaving the cursor over the wall and pressing Tab, so it selects all of the attached walls. Then if I click on it, they're all attached. And now I can shoot. Oh, they've changed this to the new version of Revit. No, you do have to do it one by one. All right, we'll leave that for the moment. But anyway, you can click on this arrow and it will flip the side of the wall. It doesn't make any difference when you've got a generic wall. But let's actually use this as an example. So we've got this wall that's oriented outside, and we've got this wall that's oriented inside. And let's see how we connect them up together.
If you don't have the arrow?
If you don't have the arrow, are you in plan view or in 3D view?
Okay,
Are you in
level 1.
Yeah, okay, go into level 1. Yeah. And it's not working, no? Okay, I'll come. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm going to select this wall, and now I want to change the type of the wall. So once you select anything in Revit, you get this properties panel on the right here. So I can just open this up and see the types of walls that are already loaded into Revit. These are loaded in and ready to go, so I don't need to change them. If I scroll down a little bit, we've got all these types of walls. We've got walls with various layers set up in them, concrete, masonry. We've got some solid foundation walls, but we also have curtain walls, and curtain walls are glazing, as in glazing that you can adjust to whatever you want it to do. And these are quite powerful, so I'm going to do a completely separate lecture on curtain walls. And down here we also have stacked walls, which we'll also talk about today. Stacked walls are two types of walls, one on top of the other, that you can treat as a single wall, or three walls, or four walls, or as many types of walls that you want to be as part of the same construction. You can put them all together down here, stacked walls. To start off with, let's just change this wall type to exterior 408 masonry, like this. And you can see that the pattern of the wall has updated. The thickness of these lines here is how it will actually print out on a PDF ready to print on a piece of paper, and that is a function of the scale here. So we're drawing at 1 to 100. If I change this to 1 to 50, you can see that suddenly the lines get much finer, because on the sheet of paper it's suddenly become 4 times the size. So Revit automatically scales the thickness of the lines to suit the scale of drawing that you're trying to make. So we have this wall here, and just to keep with the orientation theme for the moment, I'm also going to change this wall, come over here, and change it to the same type of wall. And you can see that straight away, now you can see it's very obvious that the wall is facing the wrong direction, because we have the brick on the inside, we've got the insulation, then we've got the concrete. And because they're the same material, they join up together. But that's not exactly the best way to do it. So if I just click it and press the arrow, it flips and it automatically joins the different types, the different layers within the walls together to make your life a little bit easy. So you should have something like that. Now, if I want to modify the wall, I select it, and like everything in Revit, as soon as you select it, you get the properties over here, and here we get the opportunity to edit the type. So I'm going to click Edit Type, and you should get some kind of dialog that looks something like that. Now, there's two things we can do here. We can either continue to edit it, which means we're changing this type of wall to something else. So that means if you have this wall in 100 places in your project, if I make any edits to it here, all the walls will change at exactly the same time. So let's say I don't want to do that. Let's say I want to make a slight modification to the wall. I can just press duplicate, so it makes a wall that's exactly the same to start with, but it won't affect any of the other walls we've got set up in the project. So I'm just going to call it test wall, and press OK. Now, I think I'll do the structure first. So if you want to change the layers in the wall, it's all under this the first entry at the top, structure. If you edit the structure, you get all the layers that are set up in the wall. So we've got brick on the outside. You can see exterior side is written at the top, and interior side is written at the bottom. So this is the outside of the wall and the inside of the wall. So on the outside we start with brick, and it's 108 millimeters thick. Then we have some insulation, 180, and then we have concrete lightweight inside the core boundary. And the core boundary is just there to that's where you put all the structural elements of the wall. It's not hugely important in the first couple of semesters how you play with it, but it has an effect on how the walls join together later on. But it's good practice just to put anything that's holding up the building, in this case the concrete, you put it within these two core boundary elements here. We have the option to insert another layer. Let's say we have brick on the outside, we've got some insulation, and we can make a preview of what that wall looks like over here just by pressing this little preview button at the bottom here. So that's a plan view preview from the top, or we can have a section preview from the side, like this. So let's say we don't want to have a concrete finish on the inside of the wall. We want to have some plasterboard or something like that. So we want to insert a new layer. So we can just simply enough just press the insert button here, and straight away we get a new layer inserted at the top. So it's on the outside of the brick at the moment. So let's just change it from a structural layer to a, this one's called finish 1, so let's call it finish 2. And a finish is just the last surface that is visible within the wall. So let's call it finish 2. We're going to change the material here. Click on this material, and then you get this little button here. Click on that, and it should open your material library. And in my basic material library here, I've got a material called Plaster. Or it could be gypsum or something like that. Probably gypsum if it's American. So I'm just going to double click on that. So now we've made the new finished plaster. I know that a plasterboard is 12.5 millimeters, 13 millimeters, so I'm going to make it 13 millimeters thick. And you can see that it's placed itself on the outside of the brickwork here. So we need to just move it in, because we want it to be on the inside. So I'm going to select the plaster layer that we have, and it's as simple as just coming down here and pressing the down button. So if I press down, I can cycle through the positions until it pops up on the inside of the wall. So now it's on the inside of the wall.
How? Again?
There's two buttons here, up and down. So if you select the layer that you want to move, you can move it up, or you can move it down, and it just pops through the other layers on the thing. Everybody with me so far? Yeah,
Yep.
It's pretty simple. Okay. So let's just press OK, and yeah. I'm going to talk about it in a minute.
Okay.
I'm going to press OK. And OK again. And now if I zoom in, you can see, well, the scale is very high. So we've got two ways of changing that. We can either change the scale to a low scale so we can see the lines. So let's change it to 1:5. So the lines are suddenly much more apparent. We can see the plasterboard in here. And we can see that the wall beside it hasn't changed, because this wall is still called Basic Wall Exterior 408. And this is the new wall we've made called Test Wall. Okay? So we've got two walls that are similar, but this one has no plasterboard. If I then say, well, actually I want to continue the plasterboard around here, it's as simple as selecting this wall here, whoops, not that one, this one here, and just changing the wall type to test wall that we just made. And you can see that the layers automatically join together because they have the same level within the wall setup. Okay. So let's just change this one to the 408, and I'm going to go and flip it again so that they join up together. And now I'm going to go into the 3D view just so we can have a look at what differences these things make. So here's the 3D view, just by pressing the little house up here. Switch on a section box. And now I can take a slice through the house at the level we want to look at. And I'm just going to switch on the realistic view so we can see the materials that we have. And you can see that the initial wall is here. Let's just change the scale so we don't get those huge lines. The initial wall is here with the concrete, and the gypsum has been built into this wall here, these two walls that we made. Okay? Simple enough? Everybody with me? It's really Monday morning here, isn't it? All right. Now, I gotta switch off that section box. So, I'm just going to leave that here for the moment. I'm just going to take one of those walls and I'm going to draw it. So I'm going to press wall, and I'm going to select one of the new walls that we made, test wall, and I'm just going to draw it from here to here. Let's make it consistent colors. Turn off this. It's realistic. Yeah, we get that going. Okay. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go into hidden line view. And I'm going to modify, like we did a little bit last week, I'm just going to modify how this wall displays in hidden line view, because we want to have maybe some brick lines just showing on the wall. So I'm going to select it, go back over to edit type again, and I'm going to edit the structure. And I want the bricks to actually display, so I'm going to select on the bricks and modify the material. So there's the brick here. Let's just minimize that a little bit. So we have the bricks selected over here, and we can see over here we've got some information about it, like the type of brick it is and so forth. So you can see that surface pattern here is set to none. So I want to change the surface pattern so we have some brick lines on the wall. So I'm just going to select it, and I'm going to use a model pattern, and I'm going to select horizontal lines and duplicate them, because I don't want to change these horizontal 100mm lines. I want to make some new ones. So I'm going to duplicate that. And these ones I'm going to call DK brick lines, because they're specific dimensions. So let's make them Danish brick lines. And the line angle is set to 0. The line spacing is, as far as I remember, 66.7 between brick courses in Denmark. And they're just parallel lines. We don't really want to have any crosshatch on them. So I'm going to press OK. And you can see they turn up now in our fill pattern. So we have something called DK brick now. Press OK. And apply. And OK. OK. So now we've got some brick lines on all those type of anywhere we have that material, that specific brick material, we have those brick lines showing. Huh?
Can I?
Yeah.
When you put edit type, it doesn't come up.
Selected.
Yeah.
Edit type. You don't get that, no?
No.
Okay.
I get the duplicate again.
Okay. I'll just pause this here and I'll come down to you first. Okay. Just cancel that. So you can see here we have bricks on the outside, and we have gypsum on the inside, which in the hidden line view is just showing as a white surface. But you have an opportunity, like if you draw a wall like this, you need to be able to decide what goes on the end of the wall, and that is what you were asking me about earlier. That's what wrapping means. What material do you want to wrap around the end of the wall? So what we can do is we can select the wall and go into edit type, and we have this option here saying wrapping at ends, and it says none. So I'm going to change that to exterior, and let's just press OK and see what that does. So you can see that suddenly the brick lines now wrap around the end of the wall, on anywhere where there's an end of the wall. So that's effectively what wrapping does. It's just like wrapping a present or something. Try to be pedagogical about this.
Does it add the thickness?
Doesn't add a thickness, no. It's purely graphical, purely a graphical idea. But what it does do is it changes. I'll just show you what it changes. The easy way to show this is if I put a door or a window in. So let's just select a door just to show you what happens. So I'm just going to select any door. Doesn't matter. I'm going to put it in the wall like that. So we go into the ground floor plan. You can see that the door has made a frame that spans across the entire wall, and there's just, if we have brick on this side, we have insulation, and then we have concrete, and then we have gypsum on the inside. But if I select the wall again, you can see that the end actually wraps around. So it's actually built the brick around the end automatically. So we want it to do the same where the door is. So I select it again, edit the type, and we have the other option for wrapping it inserts. So I'm just going to change it to exactly the same process. So we can either change interior or exterior or both. So let's just try exterior again, apply. The issue with this is there's two different settings, or there's two different objects that have settings. We have the wall set to wrap, as you can see it's working on the end here, but the door also has a wrapping setting. So you can modify the wrapping settings with the objects you insert as well. So let's just select the door here. And let's see how the family is built up. Okay, we can edit the type. And let's say if this is going to allow us wall closure. So we go wall closure by host, and that will mean that it, hopefully, if the family is set up correctly, that it will take the wall closure that we specified in the wall and use that instead of for a special one. So I press apply, and OK. And you can see that it's closed the wall across as you would do it. Huh?
Is that going all the way across?
It's not going all the way across at the moment, but you can change those settings as well. So, for example, constructionally, you would probably want to have you wouldn't want it to have going all the way across anyway. You'd want to have some insulation in here so there's no cold bridge. So you have the opportunity to fill all that stuff in, but that's a little bit further again. But just as a graphical thing, that's how you can deal with the stuff. Okay. Now, let's go back to 3D view. The other thing I just want to talk about here, just while we're on the subject of the external pattern, is okay, it's nice it makes a pattern of bricks, but often it makes a pattern of bricks in the wrong position, and you want to get it in the correct position. So you can actually adjust as to where the bricks are built. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that this brick here is supposed to be lying directly on top of the door because that's the way it's being constructed. We can actually move the entire pattern so the whole thing lays in the correct position. So the way to do that is this the tab button on the left here. You can actually, if we go into where we want to be and press tab, we can actually select the individual elements of the hatch pattern, and then we can use the align tool to align it to a specific plane. If we can just grab the plane. Let's try that again. Align. Like that. And we have the opportunity to lock the pattern to that plane as well. So that's just in case if you get a hatch pattern that doesn't seem like it's realistic. For example, here it's unlikely you have a brick layer that starts with half a brick at the bottom of the wall here. So there's some misalignment in the door size, so that the door doesn't actually align with brick dimensions. But that's the problem of the guy who made the family here. So let's just do that again. Let's hold tab, select it, align. I'm going to align this back down with the floor again. Whoops. It's a little bit of a tricky business. Sometimes you need to be careful what you're selecting. So there you go. All right. Will I hold a pause? Okay. Let's get back to this. Let's just go to an elevation view. We'll talk about constraints. Okay, so this is the wall we drew. Just to we won't touch the house for the moment, but the wall is in the project, so we can still use the same constraints to it. If I select the wall on the right here, we have an unconnected height of 8 meters. So when we drew it in, it's automatically at 8 meters. We have the option in here. We can either stretch the size of the wall like this, or we can type in the size of the wall here. Let's say we want 9 meters. or we can just type in the wall size here. So that gives us, we can make the wall just basically any height we want. But it's much easier in Revit to give it a constraint that's based on a level, because that means if you want to change the heights of your rooms, your walls would automatically stretch to follow that. So I'm just going to select it and give it a top constraint of roof plan and apply. So now it's constrained to the roof plan level. If I go and move this roof plan level, the wall will move along with it. So it's one of those things that allows you to do things very quickly, to make very quick changes to a building model, and therefore very quick changes to a set of construction drawings. We can also decide that we don't want it to be on the ground floor at all. We want it to be on the first floor, just by selecting the wall and coming over to the base constraint and putting it on first floor, like that. As soon as I do this, it's telling me, do I want to delete the door? So I'm just going to say delete, so the door is gone. So then we can play with it that way. So that's just basically how you can play with constraints. Let's put the base constraint down to ground floor plan again, like that. Okay. Okay, so that's basic constraints. Save the project. Now, I've just come back into the 3D view, and I'm going to play a little bit more with the wall. So, very simply, if you want to make a square opening in the wall, you can select the wall, or you can at least go into where you can see it, and you can come over here on the Architecture tab to the Openings panel. And here we have one opening for walls, and I can select that, and I can just draw where I want that opening to be, any shape I want it to be. And I can select it afterwards and play with it. So the wall openings become elements in themselves, so you have control over wall openings. So you can actually just play with the size of them.
How did you do it?
I'll do it again. I came over to the Architecture tab, and then all the way across here there's an Openings panel, and one of them is Wall Openings. So let's do another one. Now you could do this on Plan View, or you could do it on 3D View, but you have the similar controls to it. We can change the offsets to it over here if you want it to be directly at 0 level. We can change it to 2 meters high and so forth, and just apply it. Oops, that was 20 meters high. Unconnected height. Top offset to, top offset to 0. Unconnected height to 2 meters. There we go. So that's a very quick way to make a simple opening in the wall. And then afterwards, if you want to take them out, you can just select them and delete them, or switch them off. Okay? So let's switch off the big one anyway. The other thing to modify the shape of the wall that we can do is we can select the wall and we can edit the profile of the wall. If I select edit profile here, we get the usual Revit drawing tools, and I can just come in there. What do we do with it? We can start drawing a shape into the wall like this. Now I'm doing a 3D view, but it's much easier to do in an elevational view, or at least a side view of the 3D. So if I move this over to here, first of all, and then to here, we have much more control over how we draw it. So I can stretch these things up and down. If I'm happy with that shape, I use the trim tool or press TR as a shortcut, and I can trim the edges together so we get one complete enclosed shape. And then I just press accept, and now the wall is shaped like that. So you can effectively make pretty much any shape you want of the wall. Let's just do it again. I'm going to edit the profile again, and let's just in this case step it up. Use the trim tool, trim here, trim here, trim here, trim here, and accept it. So now we've got that shape wall for some reason. You never know if you're building a building in a stepped landscape or whatever. Often you need to step the floors, and especially in next semester when we're doing row houses, you often need to make them step down over a slope or something like that. So that's quite important to have this tool. The other thing we can do with this edit profile, if I select the wall again and edit profile, is we can make strange shaped openings in the wall. The tool I showed you earlier, wall opening, that only allows you to do rectangular openings, but with this tool here you can make any shape opening you want in the wall, but you don't have the same control over it as you do an opening. You can't select it separately and stretch it and so on like that. Is everybody following along? You all look so tired. Alright. Does anyone want to give that a go and I'll give you a hand, or will I keep going? Keep going. Get it over with, Shane. God, get it over with. Alright. Now, what else do I want to talk about? Oh yeah, sweeps and reveals. Okay, so often, especially in a historical building, you don't have just a flat wall. Like if we look out the window here, we can see that this building here has a molding that runs along the horizontally below the windows. And if you're making a historical building, or even if you're making a new building, you have some kind of requirement to make some kind of molding in the brickwork. And there's a few ways of doing that, but there's a very simple way. Is you can actually attach it to the wall itself. So every time you draw this wall, it has that molding attached to it. So if I select the wall again, not this one, but the one we just made, the test wall, I'm going to edit the type. And it's very important that you have the preview switched on for this. So switch on the preview down here at the bottom if you don't have it switched on, and make sure it's set to section rather than plan. We don't want to have this view, which is the top view, the plan view. We want to have the section view, which looks like this. And then we can play with it. So then I press edit. Down the bottom here we have sweeps and reveals. So I'm going to press sweep just to show you what it is. And I'm going to have to load a profile. I'm just going to show it first, and then we'll talk about it a bit more. So let's see if we have any profiles set up. There's usually some kind of generic profile. Well, maybe they've taken it out in the new version. I think I'm going to have to make a profile first. So let's see if the new version of Revit will allow me to do that. Let's have a new. Don't worry about this for the moment. Let's just see if this works. All right, I'm going to have to cancel that part of the lesson because the new version of Revit doesn't contain the same settings. So I'll have to go back and modify it and come back and tell you about it another time, because it usually had, what it did in the previous versions, it had some options set up, but those options are not there in the new version anyway. So I'm going to have to research that and see how we can get that back in, because that's quite a useful part of the thing. Yeah, okay, so let's just then, for the very last thing, just to, because everybody just wants to go to bed, let's talk about stack walls. Stack walls are walls that are 2 or 3 or 4 or as many as you want, different types of walls that are placed on top of each other, which means you can draw many levels of walls at the same time. And they're quite easy to make in Revit. So if I wanted to, let's just show you what it is first of all. If I press the wall tab again, one of the options down here, or at least there's a few options in this one, are stacked walls. So we have the basic walls at the top. We roll down, we get to curtain walls, and then at the very bottom we get stacked walls. So I'm just going to select the top one here, and let's see what happens if we draw it. And at the moment it doesn't look like, oh, there we go. It actually has 2 different walls, one on top of the other. You can see there's brick in the bottom one, and then we've got something else going on at the top here. If I select it and stretch it, let's see what happens. Okay, so the bottom half is fixed and the top half is flexible. So let's go into it and actually see how the structure is built up. So I select this, edit the type, And you can see over here, as long as you've got your section preview switched on, that there's two types of walls. So I'm just going to edit that. And in here, basically, is where you put the walls in. So all these here are walls that have been defined somewhere else. There are basic walls that you've set up somewhere else. But here you get the opportunity to actually stack them. So I can go and insert and add another wall on top, as many walls as I want. And I can change them to... let's just change that to, just to be ridiculous about it, let's change it to an interior wall on the top. And we can also change which element is variable and which element is usable. So let's just select this one and make this one variable. And we'll give it a height. No, let's just leave it like that. If I press OK. Or did I not apply that or something? Variable 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay. Okay. Apply. Okay. So now we have 3 walls or 4 walls set up here, and if I stretch this one up here, you can see that this one has become the variable wall. So I'm only going to introduce you to that now, but later on when we get into it, this is actually quite a powerful tool because it allows you to draw very complex walls, an entire wall and foundation and connection to roof and so forth in one wall type, which then you only have to draw once in your project, and it functions in all your cross sections and elevations and everything. So it's quite a powerful tool that students don't use very much, but it's something to keep in mind. Okay, I think because the sweeps and reveals isn't set up in the new version of Revit, let's just leave that at that, and I'll take any questions that you might have about it. Any questions?